Hola, ¿cómo están, my compañeros? Of all the people in the world, it's Anna Kasparian to tell you how great the state of Texas is.
Bring up the question, could Texas make it on its own? How powerful is Texas? Well, Texas is the largest state in the contiguous U.S. with nearly 27 million residents. That means that about 1 in 12 Americans lives in the Lone Star State. Texas also generates about $1.5 trillion a year, which could put the hypothetical nation of Texas right between Spain and Australia as the world's 13th largest economy. This is largely because of their abundant resources. Texas has more farms and ranches than any other U.S. state and massive oil reserves. Alone, they produce 35% of the U.S.'s crude oil. So on paper, Texas has enough people, land, money, and oil to survive, but what about an army? Well, Texas is home to more than 25 military bases, including the only nuclear weapons assembly plant in the U.S. They also have a bevy of lucrative aerospace contracts. We're not saying that Texas would be able to maintain this army prowess or even marshal up an army, but the culture and infrastructure are already in place. But despite all of this, Texas still has some huge problems. The country and or social unrest. Of women, citing wage inequality, limited access to reproductive services, and poor elderly care.
When they say limited access to reproductive services, what they're really meaning to say is that we affirm the right of the unborn to live. We affirm the right to life. Absolutely.
This is also one of the few states which restricts public office to those who believe in a supreme being.
I think that goes right along with the idea that Texas is the only state in the union that truly has the courage to affirm the existence of the human spirit, just as real as the electricity in your television is the spirit in your soul.
Texans and their elected officials tend to vote along a strict conservative line, usually against things like minority rights and gay marriage. There is a chance that an independent Texas wouldn't exactly be the land of the free that proponents of secession would promise. In the end, we can't know whether or not Texas could make it on its own, but we do know that their role in the U.S. economy and defense is crucial.
I think it's so very neat that it's Anna Kasparian of all people telling me about how amazing Texas is. This was a video done by Now This World. Another extremely important thing to note about the state of Texas is the idea that we have our own independent power grid.
Are exploring ways to protect the nation's power grids. Experts at a summit today say Texas may be better off than other parts of the country. Panelists say the biggest threats we face are solar storms and a nuclear blast high in the atmosphere. Both could knock out power for months or even years. The U.S. is split into 3 separate power grids. One covers the western half of the country. The second covers the eastern half. But the third, ERCOT, covers the large majority of Texas.
Texas could actually protect their state separate from the rest of the country. So Texas is particularly critical and particularly well positioned for protecting against these effects.
Dr. Baker says the military has already protected its infrastructure. He says it would not cost much to protect the rest of the country.